comments, actually, because I think they're how the vast majority of the world are feeling. And you must have been delighted, Holly, just days after you were criticised for making them, all of these revelations talking about how Meghan has been described by her staff as a narcissistic sociopath who bullied all of her courtiers and even resulted in them crying in front of Prince William. Do you feel vindicated now, Holly?
Well, I think it's extraordinary that so much of the mourning period and the Queen's funeral and all the events around that ultimately became about what Meghan and Harry were doing and where they were and what they were wearing, and not focused on what it should have been, which was about paying tribute and memorialising the Queen. And that was where sort of the basis of my comments came from, a sort of point of frustration where it's not about them and it shouldn't have been about them, yet it continued to be so, and they continue to make it about them. And I think when we've seen now Harry's scrambling to make edits to his book, that Meghan's been trying to make changes to a podcast, that's coming back on air next week. We'll see where it is. But I think one of the things that I have managed to achieve is in Australia we have a republic movement. If you see who leads it, you understand why it's never gone particularly far or done particularly well. But the backlash I received from some of these people, I seem to have turned them into monarchists overnight in the way they have support for Meghan and the family. It's extraordinary. Perhaps if I say something about Andrew, I can boost his PR as well.
Indeed. I mean, it is fascinating, isn't it, Holly? Because you're right. They came over to the UK when the Queen was alive and said they didn't want to see any members of the royal family at all, not even the Queen. They refused her invitation to go and see her in Balmoral, which would have been their last chance. Now, I know you got criticised for using the word revolting. I would say that was a revolting thing to do, wasn't it? I mean, this was Harry's last opportunity to be with his grandmother, and he threw it back in her face.
Look, my understanding is, and I could be wrong, that they were actually staying at Frogmore Cottage when they were in the UK,
yeah.
That they didn't bring the children with them, who a lot was made of, that they named their daughter after the Queen with regards to her nickname with Lilibet, and yet they didn't bring them over to see her, even in private, the Queen met her once or twice before her passing, and at 96, I know a lot of us were so moved when the Queen passed because regardless of her age, and we could see her failing health, that I guess we never thought that we were going to lose her. But, you would have thought that they might have brought the children over to see her at that age, and yet there was absolutely no efforts made on their behalf. Yet when the funeral efforts became all about Meghan and Harry, I just thought it was just revolting of them, and there's that word again, but it was behaviour that was so focused on them and not what it should have been about.
No, indeed, indeed. And one thing I find so interesting, Holly, and I don't know if you've faced this over the past week, but let me know, I get it a lot, is if you ever criticise anything Harry and Meghan do, instantly their fans, and they tend to be folk on the hard left, instantly cry racism. Now, I find that very bizarre because I was very supportive of Meghan when she joined the royal family. I absolutely celebrated her being here as a country, as a Commonwealth. We were completely behind this wedding. It was only once we saw the way that she behaved, the way she treated her staff, the way she treated the Queen, the way she treated her own family, her own father, Holly, who she refused to go in a 45-minute drive to see when he was close to death in hospital. That's when we commented, and I don't think race has anything to do with it.
Look, nothing I said had anything to do with race. The way that I feel about her and think about her has nothing to do with race. The fact that she had to apologise to a court for misleading them when she said she had nothing to do with the unauthorised biography, but apparently did, when she made claims around Nelson Mandela kind of cheering in the streets around South Africa, which has been disputed about her marriage. All of these sorts of things have built into a narrative that I'm sorry, I just don't really like the woman, and I don't know the woman, but I don't like her. There's plenty. The great irony that I found was people were criticising me, saying, how can you say this about her? You don't know her. You're a vile, vile human. And I'm like, well, you don't know me. Have you heard of the definition of irony here, people? So, I mean, it is just extraordinary. But I think, and I'm sure it's the same in the UK, conservative women, it wouldn't matter what we did or what we said, we would have the far left attack us regardless. And of course, as I said, the Republicans, those that would come out and were, in some instances, gleeful with regards to the Queen's passing, as soon as I said that about Meghan, were completely on board with the royal family, because how could I be so disrespectful?
Yeah,
So
there's an irony in that, isn't there?
You almost got whiplash with their turnaround and what they were going on with it.